Cool. I got this posted on my property.
The same,
Yes.
I only got the one page though. The book.
There's two separate sections here.
Ah, I see it. Still bigger, interesting than some, but.
Okay, so I guess trying to get to the bottom of it, why I was served here, and it says for the following reasons, Union Township has received complaints regarding grading on the above listed site. We have been unable to locate records of an approved grading permit as required in 280-84. Please cease all grading operations immediately. Now, this property's been under grading and under jurisdictions of the Surface and Mining DEP. And I've had this property, I bought it off of Oka Coal back 5 years ago. And you know, it's not like the township wasn't aware of this operation now, because it's been in there for probably over 22 years. And the grading, like I said, we're grading and we're dealing with Surface Mining DEP. We're going by their approval of their reclamation on this. I talked to, it was an issue with Jessica from Harshman.
Steiner, Barringer.
Yes, you remember, I don't know if you.
I just remember seeing her in the meetings, but Jessica Steiner, Barringer.
Okay, so, you know, and I had soil conservation out there. And to try to, you know, redo a grading permit. And the DEP will not let any two permits on one site, particularly when they've already got a mining permit there to do the grading. And my question is, where is these received complaints? I mean, I've been out there for 5 years now, all of a sudden, I get complaints. Township's getting complaints about the operation there.
I can tell you on the heavy hauling part, that's almost every meeting.
Okay.
That's what I could tell you.
The heavy hauling, now that's on, what portion of Cardox?
Oh, there's calls from all over Cardox about those trucks, all over Cardox.
Okay, now, my traffic, any and all of my traffic is, directed to make a right turn out of my site.
Coming in? Can you direct them coming
mean
in?
leave?
Going down.
You're still on a township road once you get off your driveway.
Okay, that's for about 100 and some feet.
But how do you,
Okay,
how do you direct
now,
them coming in?
that operation's been going there for over, you know, since probably 2006. And this has just become an issue. When the township redid car docks, okay? And, you know, I granted permission for the township to go ahead and grade onto my property, encroach on my property, to widen Car Docks Road and then make the improvements. So I feel that probably in your record somewhere, Boca Coal has already put a bond on that portion of the road, 100 feet. 100 feet, okay? So,
So there, you've never heard of any complaints about this before, cause I specifically remember in 2020 you being here about.
the neighbors complain.
Grading permits and stuff with Jessica.
Right, well, we had meetings and,
I just remember you coming to a meeting when there was complaints back then, so I didn't know.
yeah, there's a bottom of mine.
So how do you control how they come in?
They're instructed to come in from Brownsville Road onto Car Docks and up in. And most of just about all the work that is of the trucks that are coming into my site is coming from South Park.
So most?
Huh?
You said most of the trucks coming in?
Yeah, most of it, because, we're taking fill to encapsulate, the slate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now we're taking a waste, that's 130 acre park here, property. There's, we've got, the slate is approximately, 45 to 50 acres of slate that was put there back at the turn of the century by Consul Coal. Boca went in and, got all the permits and everything to wash the coal back in probably 2000, 2006. And, they extracted, washed the coal and removed it from the site until Obama got in and put the end to coal. And, they got it to the point where, couldn't make any money on it. You know, and actually, Boca Coal was doing a heck of a justice for the township because they're cleaning up a Brownsville site, 40, 50 acres, that's in this township, that the township doesn't have to,
Now, I'm relatively familiar with the property, only because Mr. Stuka, who was the first person to get the brownstone grant or whatever, he passed away, but then my next door neighbor was Mr. Dixon from Dixon Holdings, and he had owned this property or whatever at one time as well, so I'm pretty familiar with this property.
Dixon was the owner of Boca.
Yes,
Okay.
so there was Dixon Holdings and,
Carl Beeling.
yeah, so he passed away too as well, but, the only thing I can tell you is that we can look at what the required permits and so forth are up there. I don't know, I'm not an attorney or a zoning guy to see what is canceled out by a mining permit versus a grading permit versus a, so that's all we can do is maybe put you on the agenda for the next meeting, have
Well,
our
what,
engineer here, and in the meantime, research what gets canceled out from one permit to another permit.
what we've come up with, this was back, I guess, beginning of, 2020, when Jessica and, Matt Goldman from, Soil Conservation
There was some issues with some foamy water or something coming on the road there, I remember there was a rezoning on May 13th of 2020, as well as with the Paliotas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got a
I
good
have a very
memory.
good memory.
But we were already zoned. Peliota wanted to get the same zoning as my property.
Yeah, they put you on the
'Cause
same
we were
agenda
mud.
as, yeah, well, they made
They made
mud there. It made mud that day on top of it got piggybacked to the Paliotas. There was a woman on the phone from South Park that was complaining because she was partially in, she was up in that overlook that street up there? Anyway, that she wasn't notified, and then there was some discussion of whether or not, if it was already zoned coal reclamation and stuff, whether or not she had a valid point, and it ended up getting rezoned. But at that time, Jessica from Hartman was saying that your permits for mining didn't negate the grading permits that were needed by the township. I can just remember what I heard,
This is
so.
something we have to take a portion.
What?
We have to consult a portion.
That's what I'm saying, we
Make
just have to look, I could put you on the agenda for the next meeting, in the meantime, research what you need from the township for the earth moving and then I can have them here to ask questions if that helps you at all.
Well,
I didn't know you were
No,
coming to be prepared for
no,
this.
I understand that too, but then, you read that letter, and like I said, I got two of the identical things in the mail on Friday, registered, and that date on that is November 11th, and right in the back of the back page, it gets pretty serious. It gets pretty serious as of states
So when did you say you got
approved
it
and
at?
pardon me?
When did you say you got that? You said that you got it on what date?
Friday.
Well, I got it on Friday,
You got it on Friday.
the registered letter, which we didn't even sign for it. Somebody else signed for it, and we just got it just in the mailbox. But what I'm concerned about also is that, should states where, trying to see where it finds. Okay, it says, should there be no compliance with the requirements of this notice, citations may be filed with the magistrate. Penalties for non-compliance can include fines, $1,000 per day per violation, and imprisonment not to exceed 90 days.
Are you saying that you're not required to fill out these permits because you're working under a, is
Well,
that what you're saying?
I mean,
if you're required to fill them out and do them, then you're still gonna be required, but is your argument that you're not required to have these permits?
no, I'm feeling that eventually I will be required to do that, and at this point, because I will be coming in for the grading permits under a different portion of the DEP for development. And I've hired HMT as my surveyor, my engineer, to put together, because my plans for this site is, right now, we've got three 10,000 square foot buildings
I
there
know who you are.
that is paying a pretty good tax, school tax and property tax to the township. So, this wasteland is slowly becoming a good asset to the township. And then what we're proposing to build there is an athletic complex.
So, one, we don't have any, if much, any information. You can pay a lot of, like, Giant Eagle or Trax Farm can pay a lot of taxes, you still gotta get a permit for grading, if that be the case. If you need a permit, you need a permit regardless. Tractor Supply is gonna pay a lot of, but they still had to get a permit to
But
grade.
we're grading, this site's,
If you're not required to have a permit under whatever permits you have at the DEP, this would be ended up null and void anyway, wouldn't it? I mean, if it ended up that if he isn't required to have these permits on the end, you can't hold him to that anyway. It's only if he's required to.
Well, that's true, but it's all, like, I have to look at the zoning code.
And that's what I'm saying, if Harshman's believing, with all of this documentation, then
I'll get it for you.
then it's probably gonna need this following time.
Right, it's up, and
Thank
that,
you, sir.
as the zoning officer, it's up to them, they issue the citation, and then then you leave it to the magistrate to make a
Just like
determination.
you're spinning the coin, like if he believes it does, you could take
Well,
a risk on
another one
$1,000 a
is-
day, but you're gonna be held to it.
Is that permitted to be put up in there, a recreation thing? What's that zone for? That's the thing too, without having a full.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
well, that's mud. The zoning that we got was the top of the,
Yeah, there's a Bianco baseball thing and the park's industrial park, so I think it's industrial mud.
that we've been, that we were zoned at. And, if anything, that's it was like industrial, and by putting in athletic fields, it's kind of downgrading from the invasive industrial portion. So I think the zoning is, appropriate for the site. I'm not saying that I'm not willing to get a grading permit, but the problem of it is the time element. I don't wanna have, somebody come here and start taking my guys off to jail and then come and get me, or,
So when do you plan on starting the process if you need these permits? I mean, I'm sure that if you start the process with the permits, Harshman's not gonna come down there and.
well, the thing of it
look at
is,
the flames while you're doing the paperwork.
Harshman knows, again, this came from, Jared D'Amico.
Yeah, that's from Harshman.
He's the one that, right, that's from Harshman. And he got it, I talked to D'Amico, and he said that he presented, the complaints and everything. And again, that's what I don't understand.
There has been so many complaints about trucks on your road for so long that township, didn't they buy trail cameras and stuff to take pictures of the truck? There has been, probably a call every years of the trucks
Yes.
problems.
And the thing of it is, again, that's after it goes past my driveway. You got all these cars, I mean, the speed on that road is like 25 mile an hour. Them cars are doing 50 mile an hour. Okay, that has nothing to do with my park. That has nothing to do.
Traffic, you widen the road. That's how you slow them down, right? You widen it.
Well, you can also put police there to
Yeah.
ticket it. I mean, you're not going to slow cars down. They were doing 50 mile an hour before the road was even improved. Okay, and now with the improvements, until it narrows down, it was made that road safe. And as far as truck traffic on that road, if there is a truck that goes out there if it hits car docks, I think 2 years ago when I was taking the material from CH&D, they were using my site for to store stone there. Okay, so sometimes commercial stone and drivers, they get GPS and they came in on there. The township, I called Commercial Stone. I told them, I says, listen, they cannot come on Cardocks Road from 88. It's got to come up, go down to Brownsville, come up Cardocks from Brownsville Road, run 88 to Library. And that's how I direct all my equipment, or my people that comes into my site. Now just today, down there at South Park, was repairing a storm sewer that Union Township, that the water is going down and going through that storm sewer, okay? Now that contractor's from Ohio. My guys were down there measuring the road to see how many feet that we were encroaching on car docks, which is about 110 feet. And lo and behold, triaxle went straight up car docks and went past my driveway and down onto 88. I have no control over that. And that's not coming from my site. Pella windows. You know, that's over a 10-ton truck. Came in from 88, down onto.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that.
So it's not from my site, okay? Boca Coal bonded the portion of Cardocks Road from where Union Township stops, or Washington County, to Brownsville, because I had to deal with South Park when they went in there and the police started bonding that road, because the engineer told the township, and then I went back in some notes, and I saw that Boca Coal had to have bond on that road. Now I can only assume if they bonded that road, that portion of Cardocks, that 100 feet should have been already bonded.
Do you have a copy of the bond?
No, but do you?
I don't know, I'm just asking.
No, I don't have a copy, and I don't have a copy from South Park. But I called, and talked to
Take his chances.
Boswell.
I mean, I don't know where it would be a bond, I think I put on his board,
So,
5 weeks ago or something, all of us board members, so we wouldn't
So-
have the records to do that, so.
yeah,
We can't.
we can't, I mean, the best I would.
What I'm looking for is for the, township to continue working with me, and, that I'm not, I can't see a reason why I got a double bond a road if it's already been bonded.
Well, we'll check on that
Well,
for you to
what,
see if it's been
the
bonded.
best way to go is, because there's two ways. They filed this notice of violation. You know, obviously, if you go to Harshman and you're trying to work with them and figure this situation out, you're not gonna have to worry about being cited. As long as you're trying to work with them, they'll work with you to get this
Yeah, they're
worked out.
just giving you notice that you got some permits, you know.
And you have to get that
If
resolved,
you don't
or,
start,
but if you don't agree with the notice of violation, then you have to appeal to the zoning hearing board of the township. That's the process so the code specifies that if you don't agree with these violations, that you can make a case to the zoning hearing board, and the zoning hearing board will make a determination on what the code enforcement officer say.
Okay, now the grading permit,
Mhm.
how is that based on, and what is,
well,
you
that
know,
would all
what's-
be in the ordinances they attached here.
Right.
They attached them all to your thing.
okay,
So it's all in the zoning code. The zoning code
Well, they
specifies the grading, specifies, it talks about heavy hauling, it talks about, that's what the zoning ordinance is for. That's why appeals from these things have to go to the zoning hearing board. The code enforcement officer issues the violation or the notice of violation, and when an individual doesn't agree with that, they can appeal they can either comply and work with the engineering or the code enforcement, or they appeal it to the zoning hearing board, and then the zoning hearing board will make a determination. And if you don't agree with the determination of the zoning hearing board, then you appeal that decision to the court of common pleas. But that's how that process works. That's, but it's based in the zoning code, the Union Township zoning code.
okay.
We actually have no say over that. It's
That's-
the Board of
I
Supervisors.
mean, there is an ordinance, which is a local
Yeah, we have
law.
no say over this. It's what the ordinance says.
Well,
The only thing we could do is put you on an agenda and line you up with, if you had questions for Harshman, it might clear it up
But
for us
really,
at the same time.
rather
If not,
than-
I would call them directly.
Yeah, I would go to them directly. I wouldn't even wait for our meeting. It's just like I said, if they're getting complaints, the code enforcement officer, if they see a violation, they believe a violation's there, they will just issue their notice of violation.
okay, who's Dennis Minkle?
That's
Nickel,
His
he's
associate.
he's my boss.
he's your boss?
Yes.
Well, he's the one that authorized or told, Jared D'Amico to issue that, complaint.
I'm assuming that Mr. D'Amico probably consulted with my boss then and told him the situation, I guess, based
We're
on,
only assuming, we don't even know.
I don't know, I don't know what their
It was
conversation was.
Anyone
Yeah.
in here talk to him?
The last meeting, there was discussion about
There was
grading
discussion.
permits. And it was brought up,
See, there has been.
Paleotis, it was brought up the mud district. We were discussing what is permitted and what is not, and it was to be looked into.
So then
And that
you
was with Jamie
probably,
Harshman, Jared's boss, so if you wanna talk to Jamie, talk
yeah,
to Jamie.
Dennis was here.
And he probably
He
told
was
Jamie
brought
to
up,
look
there
into
was
it.
any complaints, yep.
And I'm assuming what he told Jamie, what I think I can recall it, he told Jamie to have them look into it, and then what I'm
Or
assuming
made a
is,
suggestion,
or
maybe
made-
you should have him look into it or
Right.
something.
Well, the guy, that Jared, he was, just matter of fact,
I
he
actually
said,
have
do
it
you
in mind.
have a bond? I said, I don't know. I didn't post it, I'm assuming that, Boca Cole did all that back in the day, and,
Grading permit needs to be renewed yearly.
Yeah.
That's why he was
yeah,
here in
everything will
2020.
expire, so if you purchased it from Boca Cole, things could have expired, that's why there may not be anything on record anymore. That's why, talking to Harshman, they may be able, that's, again, consulting with Harshman, if you've retained HMT for doing work for you, actually, you could have them reach out to Harshman to discuss regarding these permit situations. 'Cause HMT, we deal with HMT and other municipalities in our office. HMT is capable of dealing with Harshman to figure out what the issue with your permit situation and your road bond situation is. Since you've retained HMT to do work for you, my recommendation would be have the HMT reach out about this notice of violation, and maybe they would be able to work out.
But I don't think there's anything on here that's
And
necessarily
our
unreasonable
bonds, don't
unless he
they,
has.
you gotta renew them every year?
Some bonds are
Number
for,
5, if you're
Yeah, it just
operating, you're gonna
depends.
be operating for 5
Yeah,
years.
they're not indefinite.
okay,
You have
well
to
then,
renew them.
it depends on how you issue the bond. Now, you can put a cash bond, like, I think we're talking about that portion of the road, if, I forget, what the heck was it, 25,000 a mile?
We don't, it's all, I mean, you're hitting us flat-footed,
Okay.
we can't waste everyone's time forever, but I would see them, if you say that these are unreasonable, I would say that I'm covered by this under my mining, bring it back to us, but, I mean, we have no information on this whatsoever, and it looks like just a hauling agreement and a grading permit, which I don't think is
And
unreasonable to.
Removal of minerals as well
Okay.
as another conditional use for that.
So I think that those are pretty common, it doesn't seem like craziness, it doesn't seem like they hit you
But-
with.
Without us consulting with Harshman more in depth, but again, if you have an engineering company, the best way to
Have them talk to Harshman, 'cause
Right.
they would know.
HMT deals with this kind of stuff all the time. They may be able to get that sort of, especially if you have other permits that HMT's made aware of, they may be able to negotiate this out with Harshman, but I can't speak to that because, again, that's between HMT and the code enforcement officer, if you wanna have that.
Okay, well, the thing of it is, I realized since we're having a meeting this evening, and I was down in West Virginia and I beelined it back here. And, I just wanted to approach the board and to let you know that, number one, I ain't avoiding you, and I ain't going nowhere. I mean, I've got a lot of money invested in that property.
Maybe start the process with them, I don't think
No,
they're
we
gonna hold your
understand.
feet to the flame at $1,000 a day, if you just reach out to them, start the process of whatever you need.
They just, when they issue notice of violations, they have to make the individual aware of what the maximum penalties for those violations are. But, that's just to make
It
you.
sounds threatening, but the law says they have to tell you the worst case scenario.
Correct, and so, but really, it's just, the letter's more so to get you to reach out to
Get your
Harshman,
attention.
get you to discuss with them this, to hopefully get an agreement resolving it, basically.
But, what I kinda concerned about is that, the complaints the Union Township has received complaints regarding grading on the above, property, grading. I mean, who would be complaining, why would it be a complaint of what I'm doing here?
Well, and so that's, and so code of
Is that
law.
a generic letter?
Well, that's the thing, is so a lot of time complaints go directly to the code enforcement officer. So generally, when people come to us and say they have a complaint about something, we say, that's a code issue, you should take it to the code enforcement officer. Generally, I mean, in other places we represent, a lot of times the code enforcement officer will have some report of that complaint. Now, again, I don't know if the code enforcement has any written up complaints, but the code enforcement officer would be,
It has been discussed in public here, though.
that's all, we heard it discussed in
So
public,
we can only speak for what we've heard in public here at the meetings, and it's been
but
quite
anybody,
a thing.
anybody can contact code enforcement and report what they believe is a violation, though. I could go and call and say, I believe there's a violation at this address right now because of this, and code enforcement will go investigate and make a determination.
Well, there was a lot of complaints about the improvements to Cardox Road and what was being done. I mean, but it had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And, all my traffic, I mean, I did what I can do, posted a sign there saying all commercial vehicles and traffic to be making a right turn.
Yeah,
So-
like just get all your permits, that you might need from Harshman in order, and then.
Okay,
Like, it could be somebody that believes all those trucks are yours that are like, do they even have permits for moving that kind of, I don't know, but Harshman will point out whatever you need if you need it. And I think the $1,000 a day is just a attention.
It's-
oh, it got my attention,
It's a requirement of all notices.
got my attention, right? I mean,
You go to jail tomorrow, you're gonna pay $1,000 to go to jail. Don't move another piece of earth.
okay, thank you for your time.